Welcome to the Journey Podcast, where we talk freight, sales, tech, the market, and everything in between. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey. Let's get it. Today's episode is brought to you by Revenova. Revenova solves the transportation management challenges facing 3PLs, freight brokers, carriers, and shippers with multimodal TMS solutions powered by the #1 CRM platform, Salesforce.com. Serving the logistics industry since 2014, Revenova TMS customers benefit from increased sales velocity, improved service quality, higher employee productivity, and lower IT costs. Hello and welcome to the Journey Podcast. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey, and today I'm joined by Matt Fain, CEO and founder of PopCapacity.
Hey.
How we doing, man?
It's good to see you, sir. It's good to see you.
You too, man. I think the last time I saw you in person was at Manifest last year.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a long time. A lot has happened in the industry with our businesses, right? There's been a lot of things happen in that time.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. I look forward to diving into your story. So I met you through Justin Turner, my business partner, which is really cool. I know that y'all have known each other for a really long time. So it's always nice to spend time with great people that have built in this space. So before we dive in, I'd love to get your fun fact and then a quick 10,000 foot overview on your background, and we'll go to it from there.
Yeah, fun fact about me?
Yeah.
Let's see. I am a Korean Texan, so Korean by birth, adopted by some Texans, living in the South. So
that's a good one.
I love barbecue and kimchi, so I'll just put it there.
You might have the funniest fun fact to date in this. We've done a lot of episodes.
That was off the dome. I don't know. I don't have a lot of fun facts, but maybe that's one.
That's awesome, man. So let's talk a little bit about your background, man. Give me the 10,000 foot overview, how you got into what you're doing, how you got into the space, early stage stuff, and we'll rock back and forth from there.
Yeah, for sure, man. So if I date it back early stage, I won't bring it back that far. So I got myself into supply chain, coming out of the electrical distribution industry as a sales guy. I incurred some issues with some of my sales that, some problems that I thought could be solved. So I started getting nosy into the supply chain logistics side of that business. From there, I started a franchise-based transportation brokerage. So as I got hustling LTL, doing truckload, parcel, you name it, I could cover it for you. It was a really, really good way for me to cut my teeth in the industry. I feel like if you were a transportation broker at some point in time, especially if you're in the sales side of it, you really get an understanding what sales is really about, right? Mm-hmm. It is a grind. It is a hustle. It is a dialing for dollars. You've heard that model. That is truth in the early stages of a brokerage, right? Totally. You don't have a lot to really offer outside of the system or maybe a pre-existing network that you came a part of. But God forbid you are a brand new brokerage with no supply chain knowledge and network.
Good luck.
So I cut my teeth there. And to be between me and you, man, it was, I guess, not between me, you and everybody else.
Yeah.
I got sick of being that middleman, right?
For context, what year was that? What time frame were you doing this at?
2011-ish, 2011 to about 2016.
Amazing time for the economy, obviously, 2011.
Yeah, it was a good time. The reason I got brought in was because in the early stages, it was a good time to get into business. Yeah. But it's a roller coaster, just like any industry. Like there's ebbs and flows for sure. So I lived in that transportation brokerage world. I had some amazing experiences. I had some really amazing failures that I learned a lot from. And then I wanted to dip my toe into the asset-based trucking world. And when I say asset-based, I'm not talking 53-foot drive vans over the road. We were operating box trucks and sprinter vans. Really focused on that time-critical freight. So stuff that wasn't low-cost carrier type stuff, right? Something that was usually high dollar value or just really needed to get there due to the customer's commitment.
That makes sense.
With the assets, I felt like I could control the journey, if you would, pun intended.
Yeah, good job.
I could deliver something without me relying on someone else's trucking asset, right? So I had a really great experience there. But one of our larger customers at the time needed warehouse space
Okay.
to replace our service with warehouse space. So now I'm an entrepreneur, small business, trying to figure out like, okay, I'm about to lose my biggest customer, and they're going with another service that I don't offer. You get creative, right?
You do.
So I offered them my procurement services by Matt as a trucking provider, and they said yes. The resources I had were Google, trade shows, my existing network of amazing supply chain and logistics people. But that was it. There was no technology that gave me information, insights, and data on warehousing capacity or players in certain markets.
Right.
It was the literal wild, wild west. It took me about 18 days to find 200,000 square foot in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is Nashville, right at the time.
Yeah.
You know it, but it was an eye opener to me, right? I realized there was a gap in the industry. I realized that seemed to be a pretty easy gap to fill. Let's create some sort of digital way to find and procure warehouse space. So that was it, man.
So when you decided that you were going to make that pivot and digitize the procurement of warehouse space, what was the most challenging part of pivoting from what you knew to this new undecided, well, not undecided, it was clear what you wanted to do, but like, how did you manage that pivot?
Well, first of all, I did it during the pandemic. So this was like 2020, March of 2020. Convincing your family and the people closest to you that drain your 401k and starting a startup during a global pandemic probably was the first challenge that we saw. But other than that, it's just like getting started, figuring out the foundation. How does a startup work when you are supposed to go raise capital, and what people and players do you need to execute the vision that you have? Like, I think we all start with this big, grand, huge vision, but we don't just get there immediately, right? There's not just blink your eyes and wiggle your nose and boom, everything you dreamed of is in front of you. It comes with time. It comes with finding the certain players and people to execute and understanding like reality. Right? Dreamers dream. Like, that's great. We all need them. But what's the reality of the situation? Because you don't want to get frustrated with that.
It's funny that you say that because I think there are, there's no shortage of great ideas. There is a shortage of execution. That's right.
Yep. I 1000% agree. I've sat with many people at these event roundtables and happy hours that, you as a founder and creating something new, you get a lot of different ideas and people want to ping ideas off of you. And some of these ideas are absolutely brilliant, right? It's just like, go and execute that. Oh, but I make well into six figures working my 9 to 5 as a trucking broker. And I've got a family and 2 kids and I just bought a house. I get it. But you got to start somewhere, right? There's never going to be that perfect time. There's always going to be something that says, you know what? There's a pandemic. I'm not going to start. There's a recession. I'm not going to start. I just had a baby. I'm not going to start. And clearly you use, common sense to navigate some of those, but there's always going to be a reason not to,
It's so true. I mean, there's no such thing as perfect timing. And when I look at my career and things that I've built or organizations that I've invested in and seeing them grow, it's typically like 65% of a solid plan because you never get to 100% of the perfect plan. Like I'm still shooting from the hip here, Bellinger. We're 2 years in. I'm still shooting from the hip.
Hey, congrats on that, by the way. That's like recent 2 years, right?
Yeah. Very recent. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
That's a milestone, right? 24 months is something special because I feel like the first 12 months is like that freestyle, building it, having fun. You're learning a lot. And then that next 12 months is the execution and the building and the lessons that you learn from the first 12 months of kind of freestyling it. So totally. Kudos on that.
I appreciate that, especially coming from someone like yourself that's built and is continuing to scale an organization because, those first 12 months, as you mentioned, it's fun. It's still sexy. It's shiny and people are like excited for you. And then it gets real. Like, all right, man, like we got to get busy here. So I want to hear a little bit about what that was like with PopCapacity. So you start pivoting, you have the conversation, you say there's a gap here. Talk me through the first 12 months of, okay, we're going to make this a business. I told this customer I could do this, but like this actually is a thing that I should build.
Yeah. Yeah. So we truthfully brokered our first deal. So that first client was like, okay, let's manually get this process done. Let's go through the entire process and understand what it's like. Execute that deal, monetize it, kind of like a broker does on a truck. That's what allowed us to develop the product. The product was, in my eyes, the most important part of it. Some folks would say, hey, lean into sales. And I felt like we needed to develop a vessel, something that could carry and hold a bunch of information about warehouses and then put that in front of the world.
Yep.
So first step was finding a developer. So well, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a place called Atlanta Tech Village. It's kind of an incubator of startups and really cool ideas. He was a developer, ex-Microsoft developer, moved into the entrepreneur startup world, developed some really cool applications, one of which was a construction application, allowing subcontractors to submit virtual tours of work that's completed via this application so the general contractor could pay them, or at least understood the timing of things. One thing, after walking through a bunch of warehouses during the pandemic with our mask on and everything, right, was all these warehouses were kind of the same. There were 4 walls, dock doors, trucks, maybe fence in the yard, maybe some cool robots running around, but essentially they were all the same. So I was like, we have to have virtual touring.
Yeah.
Kirabel, now our CTO, Atlanta Tech Village developer, he had developed virtual touring for this contracting company. And I was like, I need that. Then from there, we figured out cost and strategy. So it was really, truly finding that guy to build the product first for us.
How did you bridge the gap between selling ahead of the roadmap and actually having the product that is ready to go for customers? Because I think about this often. We're selling ahead of the roadmap, right? It's what you do as a founder.
Yep.
But it gets a little dicey. Sometimes it's a little challenging. How'd you manage that with a true tech platform?
Well, I knew I couldn't go through that process again. Once again, it took me 18 days to go find a fairly easy commodity, I'll call it, in the logistics industry. I knew if I was going to put this at scale, I couldn't do it with phone calls and hand jamming notes and flights out to warehouses. If this thing scaled and I truly saw that there was an opportunity to take the lack of visibility in data and warehousing and create a business around it, it had to be a technical approach. It had to be a technology to do it, because I was one person with a very small team at that time. So it was identifying what were the steps that I was taking to find that warehouse, right? It was first a Google search. It was a Google search, Nashville, Tennessee, 3PL warehouse space.
Yeah.
The results were underwhelming. It took me on a wild goose chase. And not to not Google, but I am. The search turned into an advertisement platform. If you have enough money, you can be the master of anything in Google's eyes.
Sure.
And that sent me down this rabbit hole of non-good partners, all the way to visiting them and seeing what their true capabilities were. I was like, wait, that image on Google wasn't the same. This isn't the same warehouse, or this isn't the same facility. So I just took the process on how I did it and then looked at it. How would the technology do it? Like, look at Airbnb. What is the first thing you do? You identify your location and what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing that I'm doing. We're doing is we're identifying a location and then exactly what we're looking for, just in a B2B perspective in the warehousing world. Yeah. And then from there, it came into trying to clone what we did with that existing customer. We were an enterprise company, top heavy by nature. I think large enterprises are very open to taking on new technologies. And they knew that RFPs and spreadsheets and Google searches and phone calls was not necessarily the most tech savvy way to go about things. So we started with them. So it was like replicating what we do with large enterprises. We also had to find the warehouses. I think that was probably step 2. I'll retract a little bit.
Yeah.
2 is finding the capacity. It was not a cool way to do it. Like, there was no...
it's not sexy.
Right? It was picking up the phone explaining to these warehouses that I had this idea of putting a profile together for you, and then brands and shippers come and find you in this marketplace.
So how'd you come up with the name PopCapacity?
It was that first client. That's how they referred to it. Was 200,000 square foot for 18 months. And this large enterprise referred to it as pop-up capacity. I was like,
Like it.
I like that. It did fast forward, right? And that large enterprise's eyes, 18 months and that square footage was pop-up and on demand, which was a super awesome buzzword for the first couple of years. But then we slowly and surely started realizing that these aren't just short-term on-demand like type opportunities. Some of them were really long, into the 3, 5, 10-year engagements. So, but it's nice to have a customer kind of identify the need all the way to giving us the name.
That's awesome. So talk to me a little bit about the next, call it 12 months. So, month 1 through 12, develop a little bit of the ICP. You work manually. Now you've got a CTO that's building and things of that nature. What are the next month 13 through 24, 24 through 36 look like? What's the evolution of the business there?
Yeah, it's just getting the capacity in. We wanted to cross that 100 million mile mark, 100 million square foot of capacity in the United States. We were able to achieve that, but it was phone calls and Google search and then getting them to understand this new way of doing business. That was the primary focus for that next step.
And let's think about, if I am a potential customer of yours that needs this capacity, what's this process look like today in the platform? If I want to find a way to, get access to a warehouse, regardless of how long it is, what's that look like?
Yeah, super easy. You go sign up for free. It's free for all brands, shippers, logistics companies, anybody looking. Go sign up for free and then tell us what you want in 2 different ways. You could do a more in-depth, detailed way, which is a 26 data point form that you fill out within the platform. Those data points then press up against all the 3,000 warehouses we have in the platform, and then suggest the right fit based on your data entry or based on the information you had put. Or you can do it the OG classic way of tell me the city and the state, the square footage needs, and then I think it's facility type and certification. Got it. At that point, you're only basing it on 4 options. And I promise you, if you do that here in Atlanta, Georgia, 4 options is going to yield hundreds of results, right? So it's just the customized search. If you're a savvy procurement, or if you procurement specialist, or if you know exactly what you're looking for, that's probably the fastest, easiest way.
How do you think about, as a founder, and as I've gotten to know you a bit, sales forward, driving in front of customers, how do you think about teaching your team how to position the dream of what you're building and then standardizing it so it's easier to scale? Because I know I've had trouble with that. Selling ahead of a roadmap, I'm wheeling and dealing, and then you may have someone on your team, they're like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I need this. You need to put it in a box so I can sell it. How have you been able to bridge that gap as you built this business?
I'm still bridging that gap as we speak today. But I think it's identifying, like, with a technology company, it's tough because you want technology to do a ton of the heavy lifting. A lot of what a salesperson would do, but with technology, you want it to be natural, right? You want it to be the status quo. When you think warehouse procurement, I want people to think, well, I'm going to pop it. I'm going to Google it, right?
Yeah.
That's the first step, is identifying what your technology is going to do. Then actually, what is a salesperson going to sell? But because you could look at us and say, all right, you need to go out there and find people who need warehouse space, right? And the answer is correct. But you need to find people that need to find warehouse space quickly with technology. That is the low-hanging fruit. Like, what are the ones that need it now, right now? Because getting rates within minutes is way better than getting rates within weeks.
Right.
So identify those people first. And then it could pivot to, like, what section of the logistics supply chain you're working with. Is it the technology and innovation leg, or is it the procurement team that runs RFPs? That's the gap and the divide we're working with right now. Because a lot of times, the folks running some of those processes, the RFPs, the manual type, that's exactly what they know. That's what they're trained to do. Introducing some technology could disrupt and throw a cog in the wheel. Whereas the innovation side may say, this is an opportunity. to enhance what they do, or maybe to give them another resource so they can focus on some other areas of what we need. So
Yeah.
that's the divide right now, I think. There's
Yeah,
always
totally.
divides.
When you think about making the customer experience what it needs to be for people to feel comfortable to go through that and buy, do use pop capacity, how do you improve the customer experience? Because I think about that oftentimes as we transact with different organizations. We're working with brokerages, typically execs, and we want to get them through this buying cycle and make it smooth and easy so that there's not a ton of friction. Like, how do you think about that? Because it's a much larger process to say, hey, here's where I'm going to store my product. It's a really big decision.
It's a big decision. You have to use these things right here because you got two of them, right? And one of
Yeah.
these, you just to really start understanding that, like by listening, you understand exactly how to build the next iteration of the service or the platform or the technology. They're telling you exactly what you need. We work with a large Fortune 100 CPG company, and he came in and used our product 2 different times in 2 different ways. So it allows us to gather intent on, okay, well, for one, he's using a product. So this is a large customer who's okay with a digital procurement like theory or evolution, right? And now they're giving us 2 use cases that we can go and ask him questions, right? Why did you stop at
Yeah.
this certain point in the platform? What made you proceed in the other point in the platform? What can we do better? And how would you break it? As a technology, I feel like those are the most important things. Like, guys, go in there and try to break this thing.
Absolutely.
Please, because that gives the roadmap priority.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about how you assess where the market is today. I don't have a ton of experience understanding warehousing or capacity in warehousing, demand, and obviously the freight market is not doing well. It is severely depressed. We're in the midst, hopefully towards the end of a really, really rough period. How do you assess opportunities? How do you assess what it looks like for your team to continue to grow relative to what the market is dictating?
Yeah. The warehousing market tends to go with the transportation and trucking industry, right? The trucks flow into the warehouse and deliver product and flow out of the warehouse to deliver it to the end users. So there's definitely a softness in the warehousing market. I think the big thing that helped them was obviously peak season, retail season. We're in it right now. There's an uptick in warehousing and distribution needs there, and then tariffs. You started talking about the scarcity and people getting, the unknown of tariffs and what's going to happen. Bonded space. I'll use that for example. When we didn't have any idea what the tariffs were going to do, go up, go down, there was this real big need for bonded space into the millions of square feet. So
Jeez.
I do think that was able to help the warehousing industry not feel the impact so much that it typically would have just being based off the trucking industry, but it is very soft. That said, I've seen an uptick in opportunities for logistics folks, people in the freight side of it, to kind of diversify what they sell and offer a bit of warehousing services. Especially coming up and leading into the peak season where was top of the mind, right? It wasn't the middle mile or the first mile. It was fulfillment and last mile.
So that's an interesting point I never really thought about in terms of brokerages or 3PLs trying to find a way to diversify their offering as they're battling, right? We would like to find net new revenue and really strong streams of revenue that can help us grow the business, but we might need to do something different than what we've been doing. So talk to me about that. Are you seeing partners come to you and leverage the platform to diversify what they may be giving to shippers or things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you don't win the trucking RFP, or when they tell you that they're going to retain the partnerships they have and kind of just ride this wave until things subside, it doesn't do anything for your forecast. It doesn't do anything for your pipeline. So you've got to figure out a way and to have authentic value. Right now, warehousing was top of mind for the past 90 days. Everybody was looking for warehouse space. Before that, it was bonded warehouse space. So if you listen, these brands and shippers are going to be telling you, like, we'll push the pause button on the truckloads. Man, I'm just looking for a warehouse right now. Boom, there's a signal. Or I have a bottleneck at port. Boom, there's a warehousing signal. we also have folks that are using it just as literally pop up on demand. Our truck is at the receiver and will not deliver because the pallets are broken and shifted. That driver's got to go somewhere else, and my freight's got to unload in a warehouse close by because it can't be this.
Right.
Those things are starting to pop up more and more, and those are the save the day moments for those logistics companies.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Helping the customer, and you're helping that driver. So
Man,
now
I've been in plenty of conversations where it's that exact scenario, damaged pallets, it's been rejected, and I'm clicking around in Google trying to find a place where we can store the pallets, or you're waiting for the customer to tell you about disposition. It's just a nightmare.
Yep. Yep. And you know the pricing you get when you're in that desperate mode, right? They hear it on the other side of the phone. It is not very efficient and effective pricing. Let's just put it that way. It is on the fly pricing. So we've seen two applications. One for the just offer diversified value in hopes that if you find a warehouse for them, maybe you can get the trucks that are going in and out of it at one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? This whole business is based on trust and the relationship, and like doing exactly how you, me, and Justin Turner did, right? It's just identifying good people and solid, authentic value. And then what you do with it from there is how this thing works.
I think about that often, and I think there's two sides of the coin. Typically, early stage, you are throwing a lot of things at the wall to see what sticks, and you're ingesting opportunities and figuring out, okay, this is within our wheelhouse. We can execute this. But sometimes you have to be able to just parse through information and go, man, am I getting signals from customers that lead us to believe that this is a really strong service? And the only way to do that is to listen and have a lot of at-bats. You're just having conversations. That's all about that a lot with our team. Our job is to have conversations with executives. This is the job. Have conversations with executives.
Right.
As you listen to them, we will be able to understand which service we provide that gives them the most value. That's the game all day.
Yep. Yep. I mean, ours is, I don't know. That's a great question, I guess. Trying to figure out the scale of, once again, I won't go back to the technology in the team, right? You want to have enough tech influence to where it's relevant and authentic, but you also want to have a team driving that, whether it be sales front or on the operational front. But listening to the buyers, they're going to tell you exactly how you need to build that and what your team needs to do, you know? And that's been a huge part of our success in the evolution of things is we did truly start off as an Airbnb. Exactly what I just described, 4 data points yielding hundreds and now thousands of results. Directories are okay. Yellow pages were good back in the day too, right? It fed you certain information, but you still had to go through and research it. We wanted to take it a step further and make sure that like, okay, yes, we did provide digital procurement for warehouse space, but we also identified that you needed to find a precise partner, an exact partner, not just a list of 50. You needed that short list curated to food grade, ISO, FDA registered, not just ambient, right?
Totally.
So that was a big pivotal moment for us in that year 2, kind of by where you were. Year 2 to 3 is like, okay, we want to change our platform a little bit. We want to make it more customized. We want to listen to some of the buyers and not just give them hundreds of results. We wanted to do more work for them because that's what you're going to buy into.
So I have 2 questions. The first is going to be around your target ICP. So who fits in that?
This is a really hard question too, because we built it for elasticity. We built it so that the smallest of small could find value, and then Procter & Gamble and Unilever could find value. Our ICP is someone who has struggled finding warehouse space in the past, whether it had been a quick glance at Google and had a dozen phone calls, didn't find the great results, or maybe you did find the warehouse, but it just wasn't the one. You didn't have the right information. Maybe you didn't have the time to gather the information because it was an accelerated timeline and you had containers coming in already and they're already in demurrage. I don't know the use cases, but as someone who found that manual warehouse and procurement process was a bit lackluster. It achieved the job, but it didn't do a great job. And then the innovation teams, the folks that are looking forward at how to improve internal operations. And that's typically in that mid to enterprise range where they have the time to sit back and huddle with the team and come up with a digital approach to accomplish some of these goals. Those are our two ICPs. Well, see, and I digress. Small business can yield a lot from us.
Totally.
In one free sign up, you get access to infinite warehouse capacity at your fingertips. That's something that as a small business owner, having been there, you don't have time. That's why we started this. I didn't have the time to go and find and discover all the cool things. But in order to do something great, you have to take the time to do it, right? You have to have the information and data, and it be at your fingertips. So
100%. My second question was, I think it's interesting as you ingest opportunities, specifically with a platform like yours, you're creating a lot of demand. People are coming to you and they're plugging in information, assessing the opportunity. Boom. I'd like that warehouse, I pay for it, whatever it might be, right? They go through that. So there's a lot of inbound demand. As a founder leading the group, how do you coach the group to then go generate outbound demand? Because we need repeat, right? They came in, they use it, there's a need, that was a need then, but how do I make sure you always come back to me? And we're assessing the broader footprint here, because I'm sure there's probably opportunities where someone came, used the platform once, you're like, no, you need to be a user in perpetuity.
It's assessing that inbound data, right? Understanding why are they coming to you and what is the actual use case there? Because then you can go and replicate that and go sell it. Like you either identify, an ICP in the form of size and maybe commodity or type of business, whether it be healthcare or footwear or something like that. That's a really good way to grab signals from your inbounds and say, okay, footwear is on fire right now. Let's go target all the footwear companies in this certain category because we have a clue they might be shifting a lot of production and manufacturing to Mexico as well. That's a good way to do it. And then I like my outbound sales guys to be creative too, though. I don't want to box them into a certain, and this may or may not be good from a playbook standpoint, but I also want them to have a little bit of fluidity behind them, right? Be able to understand that if it's not necessarily a 5-year enterprise deal, but this enterprise customer is saying, hey, I might need a short-term deal in the next couple of weeks, just stay in touch. You don't get deflated. Like you understand that there's still opportunity there and you still achieve your big goal. You just don't get it all at once. Much like building a business. You don't get your outcome all within the first 12 months. It just doesn't happen like that.
Totally. So I want to hit a couple of things before we get ready to wrap up. The first is going to be, how do you look at positioning PopCapacity and differentiating it against anyone that you may compete with in the space?
So it's the continued development on the platform, making sure the technology is always ahead of the competitors by offering new little things like invoicing and auditing and more virtual touring features, stuff of that nature, and then grabbing that data out of that and putting that customer facing, because there is no data and reporting tool for the warehousing industry. And logistics, you have DAT, you have truck stop, you have sonar, you have an abundant amount of them, but it is the unknown in the warehousing world. So those two differentiators, I feel like the continued development to stay ahead of the pack, and then surfacing the data to hopefully etch us in as being like the insightful, data enriched good guy.
Yeah. I mean, I could only imagine, again, I don't know a ton about warehousing, but with as antiquated as over the road transportation is, I can only imagine that warehousing is at least as, if not more, just based on the fact that you can't really find a good way to get this information unless you're using a platform like PopCapacity, because it's all fragmented and not standardized.
That's right. Yeah. Like it's a phone call away. And a lot of these warehouses are salt of the earth, good old boys, generational. Their granddad was a warehouseman. Their dad was a warehouseman. It's in their blood. Adopting technology is not always top of mind. What's top of mind for a warehouse is making sure their concrete is covered and that they're making more money than their operating expense.
Right.
But when you can transition them to think a little bit differently and think that, okay, some efficiencies and technologies that you implement aren't this voodoo, right? Like that some of the generations think, like it can enhance what you're doing and
totally
ensure that concrete gets covered and ensure that you have more revenues than you do operating expenses.
Totally. So last two questions, and I don't know if you ever told me, but did you guys raise early on? Did you do a raise, or have you done any subsequent raises? If you
We did
did,
a little angel round in the beginning.
yeah,
And I'll tell you more about this over a cocktail or a coffee
yeah,
time. But um, we monetized and we had profitability very early on. I think within the first 120 days, we were at profitability plus 80%.
it's
And
awesome.
it was a really good feeling. We had venture capitalists coming to us saying, look, we believe in what you're doing, this, that, and the other. At the time, I felt like it was a good idea to keep all the company with us. I
Yep,
didn't know what I was going to do with a $5-6 million Series A or seed round. I mean, I knew what I could do with it as far as hiring people, but once again, as a technology company, you want to develop the technology and automate a ton of those processes and then deploy the salespeople.
yep,
So that was our funding journey. And you come with good and bad of each of it. But I do think that early stage decision allowed us to learn a lot. It made us
totally.
think about how we were using our capital and how to
hmm
tactically use it. So yeah, that's our
There's
fun.
something unique about not having, a darn near infinite storehouse of capital, because you make a lot more thought provoking, and you get scrappy. You decide how you use your cash a little bit more tactfully, because it's not infinite, and I think it creates a lot of discipline as a founder, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Looking at your checking account or your bank account and thinking, I've got two more paycheck runs and then I got to really start thinking about things,
Yeah,
that creates some discipline. It
it
creates
does.
processes,
Mhm.
and it gives you that extra little drive you need to ensure that we hit that next milestone, we bring on the next person so we don't have to feel this way all the time. So
Totally
do that.
keeps you hungry, for sure.
Yes, it does. Amen to that.
So, as we get ready to wrap up here, anything that we should be on the lookout for from you or the Pop Capacity team? Any cool stuff on the roadmap, or just things to be aware of as we go into the next year?
Yep, it's the data and the information. So I'm super excited that we're going to release in early Q1. We'll have our 2025 data index. So a roll up of all the information about what happened in the industry, what markets were hot, what the pricing did, and how it adjusted, and then release that on a quarterly basis. That is going to be to me, game changing in a way that people don't have to go and do a lot of digging if they're just looking for bare minimum information, right? If you're conducting a pro forma or analysis to shift distribution centers from one market to another, you don't need to go disrupt a warehouseman and his operation to go get pricing for an analysis. So I can't wait for our data and reporting to get cut loose. We've got a couple other things on the roadmap that I think will shake up the industry a bit, but I'm going to keep that on the wrap.
Oh yeah. I love it, man. And then last question, best place for people to get in contact with you or your team?
You can always follow us on LinkedIn. I think we put all of our new, amazing, cool things up on social media. If you want to reach out to me personally, it's very easy. Matt@popcapacity.com.
Perfect. Matt, I really appreciate you spending some time here with us today on the Journey podcast. Hope you have a great one. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.